I just wanted to spend a few minutes praising Cathy Rigby as Peter Pan on the internet. Now, I grew up with two versions of Peter Pan, the Disney version, the animated version, and the Mary Martin version, which was televised and therefore later released on home media. In that case, VHS. In this case, it's a DVD. Um, and I found this, where was it? At Unique Boutique, one of the places I go looking for used DVDs. And I wasn't sure I wanted it because it's not the Mary Martin version. And I knew that Cathy Rigby had done the role for a long time, that she was famous for it. I thought she had a Tony for it. I don't think she does after all, but she was nominated. I knew she was an Olympic gymnast who had then gone into acting and done Peter Pan. I didn't know the extent, but I thought, well, I've always been curious about it, and I really love the musical. I love the Mary Martin VHS that I grew up with. I was in it shortly after I graduated college, and I appreciated, I loved that experience, and that Peter Pan was wonderful too. But it wasn't. I figured if I ever get it on DVD, I'll get it. I'll get the Mary Martin version. So I wasn't positive that I wanted this, in part because I'm never sure that the DVDs are going to work. Although I've had a great run of used DVDs working in my player, so that's very, very gratifying. But I got it and I watched it, and the musical is the musical, and the performances and the sets and everything, for the most part, they are adequate. They are what you'd expect. You go to see a live show. It looks like a live show, and I believe significant portions of it were probably, shot in addition to shooting in front of an audience, but then some pickup shots. Cathy Rigby, is a revelation, and I use that word because she did this role from, I think, starting in the mid-'70s, shortly after she retired from gymnastics after being in the Olympics. So she's been doing it for a long time. People have known how wonderful she is for a long time, and I have suddenly, it's the same thing I say when I write about a classic book that I loved, and it's like, oh, of course I loved it, that's why it's a classic. Of course, she's great at this role. This was filmed in, I think, 1999, or 98, late 90s regardless, and she had been doing the role at that point for about 25 years. And therefore she had gotten good at it. She had perfected it, I suppose. I don't know. I guess there are people who play roles for, especially more and more, for long periods of time, and they get it all perfect, and this is one of those examples. She tops even Mary Martin. And again, I love the Mary Martin version, and I love Mary Martin's voice singing the songs. Cathy Rigby does not have the strongest voice, but Peter Pan does not need to have the strongest voice. That is not the defining characteristic of Peter Pan. There are beautiful songs to be sung, but they don't need the most beautiful voice to sing them. What Peter Pan needs to do in the musical, in most stage versions, I've never seen the actual straight play that is based on. I've never even read it. I would love to one day. But what Peter Pan needs to do, in the case of the musical, is be a grown woman and convince me that it's a little boy. And Cathy Rigby does that definitely. I always kind of found the Mary Martin performance, yes, I knew it was Peter Pan, I knew Peter Pan was a boy, but it never left me that it was being played by a grown woman. And it did with Cathy Rigby. She has an accent, a British accent. She puts it, I think she puts it on because she's an American, that just distances. I don't think I've ever heard her speak in her natural voice, but it distances from who she really is. She is shorter than Mary Martin. I don't know exactly how tall Mary Martin was, but Cathy Rigby is, I think, under 5 feet. And she's just got this general stubborn little boy thing going on in her face, in her gestures, but also being an Olympic caliber gymnast. She's got the energy. She's got the And, you know, little boys can't necessarily do what adult Olympic gymnasts can do, but this little boy can fly, so it makes sense that when she does somersaults, when she's walking on her hands, that of course he can defy gravity. So for all of those reasons, she is the most believable Peter Pan that I have ever seen. And since I did not expect that, I expected this to just be a fun, different version of a thing that I already loved. But I was, and for the most part it is, but she is the reason I'm going to watch this repeatedly. Possibly even more than once a year, every so often. Might pair it up with the Disney Peter Pan, or other Peter Pans. Just have a Peter Pan themed day and compare them. But like Peter Pans in movies that I've seen, we recently watched the movie Wendy. There's the one where Jason Isaacs plays Captain Hook. There's the one with Hugh Jackman. There's the one with Robin Williams. And probably all the Peter Pans that I have not seen. I doubt I will ever see a Peter Pan that beats Cathy Rigby. This is probably available on some musical theater streaming service, Broadway Direct or Broadway HD, something like that. So if you can, and if you love Peter Pan, or if you love musicals or whatever, find a way to see Cathy Rigby as Peter Pan. That's all for bits and pieces. That's the bit and piece that I wanted to share for a couple of minutes today. Think lovely, wonderful thoughts.